over the past year, inflation in Venezuela has reached 2,000%. On average, Venezuelans have lost 20 pounds in body weight.
Families, 197 unaccompanied children.
Barricades on fire and vandalized luxury stores. Police used tear gas and rubber bullets to control the crowds.
With frequent airstrikes, it's too dangerous for people to leave this area. Wherever you go, you can see the human cost of this war.
This is not that type of documentary. Let's start over.
Hi, my name is Sebastian, and I am with Seeds of Change, a student organization at the University of North Carolina, Asheville. We are a group of students that works as a think tank to explore different schools of thought and technologies that are drastically changing our reality. We're asking crucial questions in regards to the situation of the world, because the way we see it, we are on the brink of either a great expansion or a great collapse. We attempt to find solutions that meet our personal needs as well as the world's at large. And as a result, we have developed a concept called Awareness Corp, which we will explain throughout this documentary. But in the meantime, we were curious if other students were asking the same questions, so we went out and asked.
So, our first question is, if money wasn't an issue, what would your dream job or career be?
You want it? Then I'll let you go first. I think you have a more clear-cut answer to this one.
Something I wanted to do when I was a little kid, I wanted to design skateboard decks and do stuff like that. So that would probably be it.
As a job or for a career, what do I want to do? I don't know, I really want to get into musical therapy and then join the Peace Corps after college and go travel around and just teach people who are less developed countries music, bring some guitars with me, maybe get a sponsorship from some company and spread around music.
If money was not an issue, my dream job would be to be a teacher of sorts. I don't know what I would teach, but I would teach kids something.
Probably what I'm trying to do now, which is become an ornithologist and travel around and study birds and how climate change is impacting them and the effects that they have on their environments. If time also wasn't an issue, I would also like to create and maintain community gardens, especially in lower income areas. So food deserts so people can eat. Yeah.
Counseling and consulting. And that would be to help communities and individuals to figure out their talents and how to uplift those and empower those and enhance those towards positive change.
Probably the one I'm going to do anyways. I want to be a scientific illustrator, and so what I would be doing is I would do illustrations for scientific journals and medical documents, even patents sometimes. And the kind of idea is that I would be creating the artwork for further scientific revolutions, things that can help people, medicine, surgeries.
I wanted to be a paleontologist, but in order to make money in that career, you have to have a major discovery and to get the funding to go out and make that major discovery. And usually there's 20 plus people on your team who all get distributed the funds from it, so you don't make a lot of money.
I've always wanted to help people. So I'm in the psych field, as you already know. I'm a psych major, and I want to get my PhD in clinical psych. And I think that wouldn't change. My student loans would be a lot non-existent if I could pay for them. So I think I would stay on this career path. It brings me the most joy. I think it's my passion. It's what I'm meant to do.
I originally wanted to do veterinary school. I changed my major to psychology for financial reasons, but even though it's still going to be expensive.
The career that I'm already pursuing is kind of contingent on not caring about money because I want to make the biggest change that's possible, sort of. So I want to go into environmental law, and I will be going into environmental law, and that's not a place I can make a lot of money, but it'll be a place where I can support myself while also feeling personally fulfilled. But if I was doing something that was totally regardless of money and any sort of personal or societal expectations, I would just write. I would just run into nature and write. But the whole idea of being able to run into nature is is falling apart, right? Like our natural systems are degrading. It's like, that's why I know I have to go into environmental law or like something that will protect the environment, because I can't see the world fall apart and not fight for it. So, yeah.
We're currently in an age of what you might call superabundant capital. I mean, there's plenty of money out there, right? But the problem is where that money is routed, right? So if you're routing money toward a corporation, toward a larger growth opportunities, there's plenty of money, right? More money than we've had, in decades, right? But it won't last forever, but it's there.
To look at the role of university students, it's interesting to look at what Joseph Campbell, the famous mythologist, said to a graduating class at Vassar in the 60s. He said to them, follow your bliss, follow your bliss. He meant to follow what you love in developing a career. And so students have taken heart to that, I think, and since that time, since the 60s, more and more students have been trying to follow their bliss, to follow what they love, and not get caught up in the commodification of society. We've seen women with the Me Too movement. We've seen teachers changing education and improving education by strikes. Well, students need to be involved in helping erase the tremendous loans that are put on their backs. But they should be joined by other people in society. But students are more likely to take that tack of removing some of this. This is representative of that commodification of students right away. So before students have a chance to follow their bliss or do what they love, they're beset with all this debt. And then if they go in society and have to buy a car or a house, they're further pulled into the commodification of society. And so if you want to end that, we have to have activism among students to create a society that is not so oriented around commodities.
But how can we make it so that anyone, anywhere can follow their bliss?
Let us paint you a picture.
This is Jordan. Jordan just graduated college with a degree in graphic design, and they are looking to follow a career path that will allow them to explore their creativity and provide financial success. As they research for opportunities that align with their objectives, these are the options that appear to them. They could apply for a job at an established company, but in most cases that will entail starting from an entry-level position with entry-level salary and perhaps not so much freedom to follow their own directions and motivations. Freelancing may also come with the same negatives, with the added challenges of marketing oneself and no guarantee of consistent work. They could try volunteering or applying for an internship, which could be very rewarding and expose them to beneficial experiences, but beneficial experiences don't pay the bills. Finally, they could start their own business. Jordan opts to start their own business, for by being their own boss, they will have the freedom to meet all their objectives. And given that they studied graphic design, their idea to create t-shirts with their own unique designs. But now Jordan is faced with how they want to bring their idea to life, because a business venture requires startup capital and entrepreneurial skills. In researching ways they could acquire initial funding in a reasonable amount of time, Jordan recognizes a few options. They could ask their friends and family members to lend or donate money, but this route will most likely fall short of their necessary funding. They could apply for a loan at a bank, but a shaky or non-existent credit score will greatly hinder their chances of receiving it. Not to mention the need to pay for the loan back in a limited amount of time and the accruing interest. Lastly, they could start a crowdfunding campaign, and while this may be a viable option, again, there's a likelihood that their goal won't be met. On top of this, none of these options would prepare Jordan with the necessary entrepreneurial skills to handle their business if and when they receive the funding. But let's say there was a fourth option, one that would act similarly to crowdfunding in that you would have a platform to receive funding for your idea, but it would also provide a support network that could aid in preparing you for the entrepreneurial world. So Jordan decides to learn more about this fourth option and is happy to find that the platform is founded upon their desire to empower people with humanitarian impulses. However, in exploring their application process, two major criteria are apparent. 1. Members of the platform may have full creative control but must relinquish their power for total ownership of their business. This ensures that one cannot sell their business for the ideal purpose outlined in the second criteria. 2. 51% of net profits after expenses must be donated back into a communal pot in order to help fund other campaigns. Jordan finds these criteria hard to digest, but in order to understand the platform more fully, they look at the bigger picture.
In 2017, the World Economic Forum surveyed 31,000 18 to 35-year-olds across 186 countries. They were asked what they thought were the top 10 most concerning issues facing our world today.
A later study showed that 90% of young people agree that humans are responsible for climate change and that the destruction of nature is the most critical global issue we face. A majority of responses also felt that startup ecosystems and entrepreneurship are the most important factors contributing to youth empowerment in a country.
This is what we are proposing, an economic system which empowers individuals with humanitarian agendas.
This fourth option, which we have spent the last year workshopping, is called Awareness Corp. Now, it's a complex system, but we'll break it down for you.
Awareness Corp is a revolutionary economic institution that is supported by and dedicated to funding small startups and campaigns that have a triple bottom line.
A triple bottom line is a framework that recommends that companies commit to focus on environmental and social concerns just as they do on profits.
The system works like this. By allowing all members of Awareness Corp to vote on what campaigns they believe should receive funding.
Once an applicant receives the grant and proves that they are economically viable, 51% of the net profits generated by their endeavor is returned to a collective pot, which will be used to help fund future campaigns.
And thanks to blockchain, we can ensure tamper-proof transactions and full transparency. Thus, the 51% would be automatically donated back to the collective without the possibility of corruption.
Now, this also means that Awareness Corp would hold a 51% majority share indefinitely, yet all members would still have total creative control over their business. So why 51%?
Because this is how recirculation of capital is possible. In this way, every member plays a part in sustaining the whole, which allows for exponential growth.
The system recognizes the importance of helping individuals to reach their goals, to allow them to follow their passions with the help of an interconnected community.
So to be a member requires not an individualistic mindset, expressed through competition, but an altruistic one, expressed through a collaborative effort that will yield equitable allocation and harmony.
Consider it like this. When you're too focused on your personal gain, then you're going in your own direction. But when we all focus on the well-being of the whole, we're all going in the same direction.
So by being on the same team, we as a collective made up of unique and diverse individuals can start to tackle both personal problems and larger societal issues at the same time.
And by unifying towards a common goal of ethical business practice and empowerment through collaboration, we can free ourselves from the chains of a survivalist mindset and the limitations of a competitive economic system.
In all these ways, Awareness Corp is a social, economic, and energetic revolution that aims to reduce the red tape around small business startups and prioritize ideas that benefit the environment and society.
So now that we're up to speed, let's check back in with Jordan.
Now that Jordan feels aligned with the ethics that are the basis of the Awareness Corp system, they adjust their idea in a way that would make a positive impact. So Jordan decides that they want their t-shirts and apparel to be made out of recycled materials and base their designs on environmentally friendly messages. They are now ready to send in an application proposing their idea to other existing cells. After their story has been shared and is supported through the voting system, their recycled t-shirt business receives a grant from the communal fund. Creating logos and designing shirts satisfies Jordan's creative passion, and the support provided by like-minded members of Awareness Corp enables their venture to become an economic success. Not only are they making strides to ensure their financial success via pursuing their passion, but by using recycled materials for their shirts, they are also making a positive impact on the environment. Jordan now belongs to a community that can empower their endeavours and offer support through technical know-how. And now that they see the direct benefits, they understand the importance of selflessness for the betterment of the world. The Awareness Corp community is willing to support and share knowledge with one another because as one business thrives, so does the whole organism. When it comes to success, competition cannot guarantee security. It is only through collaboration and compassion that we can find a balance in this economic tug-of-war.
By pooling resources, financial resources, giving them micro-lending to new enterprises, funding always newer and newer enterprises is an excellent model. And calculating the triple bottom line. So not only that it will be economically profitable, it will benefit the environment and it will benefit the society around it. So I think it's a great model.
Well, I think if you're giving 51% in the shares to the organization that you belong to, that requires a lot of selflessness. And it's a very good model for creating a collective movement. But it depends upon eventually taking care of the individual entrepreneurs as well as the new projects that are coming on. And so the challenge is to have a model that balances those individual needs of the already on board entrepreneurs with the coming projects and new entrepreneurs. It takes a long time with a nonprofit organization to reach a critical mass so that it can support itself.
I think so. One of the things that intrigued me most about the idea of Awareness Corp is goes back to my experience with microfinance, microcredit. So my PhD research was on the idea that microfinance institutions don't have enough capital. They're very limited on capital, so they can only lend as much as their capital as their capital base allows. So when they run out of money, they can't lend to any more customers, and that's a problem for many microfinance institutions because they want to grow, but they don't have the capital to do it. With your model, as you explained it to me, you will have a continuous source of funding coming in and could keep lending out to those that support the Awareness Corp model and the Awareness Corp vision.
And I've been involved in creating nonprofits myself, and we spent the first 3 years, barely being able to support the employees. But it caught on, it became popular, and now it has an ability to grow. But it took 3 years to grow. So until that critical mass is reached, it's quite a struggle.
So based on size, that becomes an issue finding capital. So I see potentially Awareness Corp, the way you explained it to me, being a place where startups, people with a socially responsible mission, a socially responsible idea for how we might better the planet, how we might better each other, right? A place they could go to find funding to further their ideas.
I started a company called One People that's really focused and predicated around making the difficult conversations of diversity and inclusivity easier. Starting as an apparel company, because apparel is really the first way that you learn about people is the clothing that they're wearing. As a large brown guy, I think that there's a lot of times in my life where I've had interactions where who I feel that I am is not represented externally because of stereotypes, because of associations with what people think that I will be, whether that's an athlete which I was an athlete for a long time, but it's not my entire identity, but an athlete or a threat in some way or some negative perception or positive perception of the media. I think that the clothing really allows us to break down and see that we're a lot more similar than we are different, and just by virtue of the name One People. Then we'll be evolving and developing into more of a media company, working on utilizing digital marketing, making it easier for people to implement diversity and inclusivity into organizations to try to change the homogenous nature of large corporations right now, and really making it easier for people to implement positive social and cultural practices that are necessary for diversification.
I really want to teach, but not in a standardized public school system, most likely, because I see a lot of flaws in that system that just seem too much for me to change and fight against at the moment. So instead, that's why I chose to do an individualized concentration instead of a teacher licensure. So my goal is to have a homestead after college, have a piece of land that's abundant with vegetables and fruits and flowers and chickens and goats. So a small farm, and I'd like to have a school on that farm, and I'm focusing on lower grades, and so students would be primarily outside all day. They'd have a good chunk of the day to play outside in an unstructured way where they can learn and explore nature and learn from nature, because I think that's essential to a child's development, well-being, the well-being of the planet now and later, is that connection that people build with nature and animals and plants, And so, and it also teaches children empathy and compassion and boundaries and a multitude of other wonderful attributes that I don't think they gain as much when they're sitting in a classroom chair for 5 hours a day at a time.
This is a beautiful time for me to be considering something like Awareness Corp, because as you start going in and as you start growing your company, you need rounds of funding. You need money to come in to really help promote the growth that you want to see. And something like Awareness Corp really gives you an opportunity to bypass the traditional systems of angel investing and venture capital, where you're now joining a network with Awareness Corp, where your entire network is now trying to promote the change that you want to see, rather than just the money that they want to gain from the investment. And so I think that the opportunity to do something with a socially inspired company, to join a network of people that really cares about the change is huge. And especially with a company that's not necessarily seeking the profit, but is really seeking the impact. That's something that's very attractive to me, and I think a lot of businesses that are doing the same stuff.
Paul Hawkins also, in a book, the Blessed Unrest, he said there were 1 million environmental groups in the world, but they don't work together. And so we are beset with this kind of individualism that stultifies the development of a positive global strategy for dealing with the world's crises.
Actually, we know how to make sustainable enterprises. We know how to recycle. We know how to use sustainable energy. We're just not doing it. We don't have the motivation. And the financial incentive that Awareness Corp is offering, meaning giving loans to enterprises that have the criteria necessary, will give it power, will empower individuals and small collective groups, cooperatives, I hope, to actually make a more sustainable world.
So I've already told a couple people that I was going to do this, and I think my initial reaction is, wow, this is a group of students who care. This is our next generation. This is our generations to come. It thrills my heart to see it, because we have to have a change, right? I think we've gotten so far off focus in this country, in the world, and what we focus on and what we think about and what we value. I think we're way off target. Right, and I think something has to change. I think this is a wonderful idea. I don't think it's the epiphany. I think it's one concept of many that could come out of changing our global culture and how we think about each other and how we think about money and how we think about supporting each other. I think it is a good concept. I think it has rough edges. I think it has some things that need to get worked out, but I think the idea and the energy around it is really exciting for me to see.
We believe the best, most immediate effective action to address the world's greatest challenges is the one that is unifying, economically viable, and the one that you enjoy doing.
Hi, my name is Elijah. I am the director of this film. Sorry if that breaks the illusion for you. I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to sit down and watch this. We at Seeds of Change have spent the better part of several months working on this project, most of which was spent in pre-production, breaking down and reconfiguring the way in which we were going to present this idea to you. That being said, we did have to end up cutting a lot of the complexities and the specifics behind the idea, so don't take this film as a thorough breakdown of Awareness Corp, but more so as an introduction to it. We are in the process of creating a website that would provide more information and some of the research that went into developing the idea, and it would also include a forum page. So we recognize that this idea is not fully fleshed out yet, and honestly, it's going to take all the help that we can get to bring this idea to fruition. So for any of those who may have feedback or critiques after watching this, we definitely want to hear that. If at the time of your viewing this, the website is not ready, we do have other ways for you to contact us. I will just stick whatever link is available right here. And yeah, thanks again, and I hope you have a lovely day. Okay. Bye.